The hot wind blew harder as the blue sky.
Welcome to the fourth episode of DoubleLife Exposed, a six-part series taking an in-depth look at each track on singer-songwriter Christian Beach's recently released EP, DoubleLife. This time we'll take a closer look at the EP's fourth track, the epic Food on the Table. And joining us again is the artist himself, Christian Beach. Christian, how are you?
Doing great, Brian. How are you tonight?
I am doing excellent, thank you.
Awesome.
So let's start off talking about Food on the Table. Again, another interesting intro, kind of a sonic landscape, and that sets the scene for this very cinematic song. I mean, there's some implicit imagery in the lyrics, and kind of plays out in your head visually as you're listening. Why don't you talk about the intro, but also the overall approach to the song, how it came about?
Sure. So Food on the Table was the last track that I wrote and recorded for the EP. I had a couple of other songs that were in the running, but I just decided they really didn't fit for one reason or another. And we kind of talked about this in our previous episodes. So I wrote it and recorded fairly quickly. So it began by well, I can actually show you how it began. Fooling around on this thing. So this is a travel guitar that my wife Lisa bought me some years ago, and it's got an interesting sound to it. It kind of sounds like a resonator guitar, kind of banjo-y. It's got an interesting resonance. So when I came up with the basically the song, the riff on the guitar, I played it on regular acoustic guitar, and it just didn't sound, I guess, old enough or unique enough. And I was kind of thinking of the, Clarence Ashley, Cuckoo Bird, the stuff that was written in the, the early late 20s, stuff that was recorded back, blues, country, those weird old Americana. So I love that stuff, and that's kind of what I wanted to. Kind of write something in that vein, and that from the lyrics as well, sort of that, like you talk about an implicit imagery. I didn't want it necessarily to tell a story, but I just wanted that cinematic kind of landscape with the imagery of the lyrics, also reflected in the music as well. So, when I recorded the song, I had some ideas to bring different elements into the mix and create something, I think a little bit more unique, and bring in those weird, electronic type of sounds. So, so that, and with the other songs I had on the EP, I had another song that was basically more piano based, but I wanted to mix it up. I didn't want everything to be piano based. I wanted a couple, just sort of acoustic. So when I first did it, I was just going to do it acoustic, very stripped down. And then I started thinking about, adding those other elements into the mix, making it a little bit more grandiose, but on a smaller scale. So cinematic, absolutely. I had the imagery in my head. So when I was kind of crafting those sort of synthetic and weird sounds in there, I know what I was after, and I could get those sounds pretty quickly, because it was less experimentation and more, I need to get this type of sound, because I kind of heard it in my head, and it was just a matter of finding it. The intro is actually very simple. It's just if you're familiar with an EBow, an EBow is I have it around here, but it's just a battery operated device that you put on your guitar, electric guitar, and it just creates infinite sustain. So, like David Bowie Heroes, the guitar in Heroes,
Right.
That's only EBow. So it's like, it almost sounds, it's just one sound going all the way through. That's basically what I use. And I ran that through some effects, and just kept that kind of underneath the mix, but I automated it. It kind of goes in and out. And I also automated the echo, and there's some reverb on that. So I kind of made that kind of creepy sounding, throughout the song. So that's all really the intro is. So it might sound more than what it really is, but it's just that EBow sound with effects added.
Yeah, it's atmospheric is more what I was, thinking.
Yeah.
In my, it's funny because I was listening to it again today, and as you said, like you're listening to stuff from the or inspired by stuff from the 20s, going back, and it hit me like stripped down. It really is like a very traditional Americana song, and then it has all the electronics and atmospherics on top of it. It's kind of, I love that duality to it.
Yeah. Me as well. But it wasn't like I didn't set out to do that. To say I want to write a 1920 song and put electronics on it, but it was kind of like that. It just kind of came out that way, and it just embellished the song without really treading on it too much, and without getting too overt about the other stuff that's going on with it. So yeah, I just wanted and really it's I think the lyrical content of it, which adds that kind of cinematic atmosphere. There's a lot of darkness in that song, and it sort of had to be even the opening line, of the song, talking about the sky. It's just I could see it in my head, all these things that were going on, and kind of translated that to sound. And that's what I tried to do. But but the song actually took, because I knew exactly what I wanted. It was pretty quick. And by that stage, when I was recording, I recorded most of the other songs. So by that stage, I was pretty comfortable with my working environment and all the different, plugins and stuff I was using. So I knew how to get the sound pretty quickly, which was cool. So it was almost like a last add-on. The song, it wasn't even really designed to be on the EP, but I'm like, let me just put something else on here. I have an idea, and I'm glad I did.
Yeah, me too. So you mentioned the darkness of it, and the song is, to me, is very tense. I mean, there's a lot of tension in it. Even the guitar playing, it's kind of a frantic feel to it. That constant kick drum, and then that sparse eighth note piano pattern that comes in. It's like almost everything just adds tension to the song. It's
if you listen to a lot of those old songs, like from whether it be from the Carter family or Clarence Ashley, any of those guys, and they used a lot of that, I guess that Dorian type of scale, a lot of that those augmented chords and stuff, and it's kind of blues, but it's like a weird blues, and but even the chord changes, it's not necessarily traditional. The chord changes are a little bit more modern or different, but that's what was cool about it, because I was putting my own spin on that type of sound, trying to bring it up to modern times a little bit.
So I know you said that, there wasn't an exact story, but there is a narrative in the song. So if you can tell a little bit about the story of that and how it drove the musical choices you made to kind of play into that.
In my mind, I mean, I like to think of songs as kind of like more like paintings, where you kind of step back and you see everything going on. And it's not necessarily linear, although some things can be like that. Some songs can be straight storytelling. This happened and this happened and this happened. But it's more about the just more about the atmosphere. Food on the Table is an image. And when I was writing it, in the back of my mind, I was thinking, about, just strength of women, single mothers, who've been through, some horrible things and been left to fend, not to say fend for themselves, but with children, especially back, in the early part of the century, the Dust Bowl and things. A woman's strength is the only thing I can come up with, because there is no, actual, storyline per se. but that was what it was in the back of my mind, you know, that the woman's spirit, they should be able to conquer this, you know, the man might let her down, but it you know, she'll be able to do anything. So
Good.
I don't know if that came out right, or you might have to edit that, but it's kind of hard to explain.
No, I get it. I get it. You know, it's an overall theme. It's not a explicit story.
Exactly.
So why don't we just go right into the mix then?
So the song starts out with the EBO effect, and let me just go in and unautomate this here, and just so you can hear it, because it's pretty low in the mix. It goes up and down. So this is the beginning of the song. That's the EBO. This is just a straight EBO sound. You can hear that. And these are the effects. So these I kind of just mixed in and out as the song went on. A little more atmosphere, less EBO, more atmosphere. And this goes throughout the entire song to various levels. The guitar, which is the travel guitar that I recorded, is on this track, and I actually I put some interesting effects on that as well, which you really can't hear too much in the mix, but it almost adds to kind of the metallic type of resonance tone to it. So this is the effects. It sounds horrible when it's all the way up in the mix like this, but that sort of creates some atmosphere as well. And then we've got this sort of thing that's this, I call it scraping. I couldn't think of anything else to call it, but it's this sort of synthetic, metallic, clamoring kind of thing that's going through a bunch of different effects. This is one of my favorite ones to use, Crystallizer by Soundtoys, so you can kind of manipulate the pitch, do all kinds of crazy stuff with it. So that's pretty much in the verses, and we got the piano in there. So all the crazy stuff happens, of course, in the chorus. This thing won't go away. Okay, we'll turn him down for a second. And if we go into the chorus, so there's a few things going on. So with the guitar, I added another guitar here. And it almost kind of sounds like, it's kind of picked like a banjo. It's just kind of faster finger picking type of thing. So that's in there. Of course, we got our EBO guitars. And then there's these sort of synthetic sounding strings, which are orchestron sounds. And the orchestron it was an old tape. It's actually not tape, but it was sort of like a mellotron, which mellotron used tapes for the sounds, actual magnetic tape. The orchestron used a record player. Basically, it was like a disc, a vinyl disc you would put in. It was really scratchy sounding, but kind of unique. So I like to use those types of sounds. So these are the tracks here mixed in with this. It's actually two sounds there. And in the last chorus, I use this transition. I just wanted something to transition from the verse into the chorus. So I played this little bit on a harmonica and just slowed it down, or I pitched it down. It almost sounds like a train whistle, type of thing. So when you have all these elements come in, there's a kick drum. And there's no bass in the song, but there is a synthetic bass in the chorus. Yeah, the strings. The piano. And then there's this little piece here that plays the tail end of it. Kind of like playing sort of what the guitar is. So that's basically it. I mean, there's not that many tracks on here. Got 26 tracks, including effects. So I think it just sounds more than what it actually is. But just a simple kick drum, which I played on one of these cajones and just triggered another kick drum sound that I played live. Everything was played live. There's no MIDI or anything here, so everything you hear is just played by hand. So that.
We go to those like those staccato piano notes, and when's that in the second verse?
The piano comes in, in the second verse.
Like eighth note repeat, because to me, I love those. I love those. I don't know why.
Yeah, it's kind of like a jazzy thing, and I kind of just riffed off it. But I heard that in my head, that because in my head it could have been a tambourine or could have been a shaker. But I'm like, let me have the piano kind of do that, because again, that kind of adds to the tension too, just that constant, eighth note pattern, and that comes in, I believe, here.
It's so funny how something so simple, like just raises up the tension.
Yeah, exactly. And I just heard that because I added the piano for the chorus, but I also heard this sort of just pecking. It's almost like a pecking kind of.
Right.
And I added these kind of little bluesy things at the end of it as well.
It's almost like you can almost make a case that it's symbolizing a clock, like ticking seconds. So
exactly. And then the vocals. There's the vocal part in the chorus, which is 3 different harmonies. Let's just this up here. Food on the table, baby in the cradle, mid vocal. Man's on the run. Food on the table, and that kind of gives it sort of a country kind of sound, with the harmony on that. But it all came together. It came together, fairly quick. And sometimes that's the best way. When you labor over something, I mean, there's usually a reason why you do labor over something so long, but once in a while, something just, you write it quick, you record it quick, and it comes out good. So definitely, in this case, that's what happened.
Right. And now at the end, though, those arpeggios that you showed, you highlighted before, but then you like kind of bring them up, which also towards the end of the song, and that's another case where it just adds, like it's like this unexpected additional tension that comes in at the end.
You with that synth part?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It was almost that's almost like Larry Fast joined the party or something.
Yeah.
It's like, and that's kind of how, not just this song, but throughout, the whole recording process. That's kind of how I thought. Let me bring this guy in and do a part.
Synergy has entered the chat.
Yes, exactly. So that's actually kind of what was on my mind, even almost like a Kraftwerk thing, and to juxtapose that into this, bluesy sort of, old time country Americana feel to it. I thought was really cool, and it just kind of worked.
Well, that concludes this look at Food on the Table from Christian Beach's new EP, Double Life. We'll be back next week to explore track 5, Desert Places. If you want to check out Double Life, just go to christianbeach.net, where you can find links to all the ways you can download or stream the EP. And there's some videos there to watch as well. Christian, thank you for discussing Food on the Table with us. We'll see you next week for Desert Places.
Thanks a lot, Mark.